Hey, what's going on, people? Your boy Madmike coming at you guys with yet another Atlanta Falcons video. All right, this is Atlanta Falcon podcast, Atlanta Falcons news for all of you Atlanta Falcons fans. I know you're probably bored out of your mind, but never fear. Superman is here. Nah, I'm just kidding, people. This is your boy Madmike, man. This is inspired by Stunner Breezy, and I wanted to kind of give him the three things about Richie Grant that we need to have a discussion about. And in this particular video, we're just gonna start with the first one. The first one for sure, Richie Grant. Um, I think the thing about Richie Grant is that you look at his skills, he definitely plays a lot better in the box versus tight ends, running backs, and a lot of the slot receivers. He's very good at anticipating inside the box. So when you look at what the Atlanta Falcons have in a safety with as Jesse Bates, his abilities, his skill set, he's a pro. I thought he was the defensive player of the year, but you know, a lot of people ain't gonna give the Atlanta Falcons that credit. Why? Because we did not look good in its entirety. We lost Grady Jarrett, and when you have a guy like that up front, it kind of takes a little bit of the quote unquote respect away from him because you got a pretty good guy in Grady Jarrett. But again, the Atlanta Falcons are the Atlanta Falcons, and Jesse didn't get the proper respect that he definitely does. So he's very good in the box, man. I think he's very good at anticipating in short area spaces. He's very good at that. And that's the first one. The second one is obviously getting into that. Yeah, he's good in short area spaces, but when you look at him, you can't leave him in deep space with bigger players, particularly tight ends. A lot of big receivers, a lot of big tight ends. You go back to last year, he had a lot of issues um, kind of keeping, he kind of keep uh, from getting picked on. Defenses all over, um, and damn near every opponent that we had, these guys were picking on him. Now the question and the film, when you look at the film, and we had this conversation on Atlanta Falcons Nation. Shout out to Coach Unchained. A lot of times that he was put in certain positions. We thought maybe it was his fault, him blowing coverages, but to be honest, a lot of times the Falcons weren't getting enough pressure up front, and allow the quarterback to hold the ball and make a perfect throw in certain situations. And then you have the quarterback, the defensive back, they got an extra minute or two to create space. And I think that's the problem. When you put him in a situation where he has to cover for a long time and a long periods of time, most of the time DBs are going to get burnt. So you got to really up the game as far as the coverage and the not the coverage, but the pass rush. If you want your DBs to play at maximum strength. And I think that's the thing. You put him in way too many situations. We have to cover too long. And anytime you have a DB that covers too long, he's going to get burnt. So I do believe that Richie Grant has uh, the skill, but we cannot continue to leave him in space by himself. The defensive line has to get after the quarterback and get some sacks, and we can't miss. It was a couple of games against Minnesota, Arizona, um, Chicago, where we had guys dead to rights and we could have turned the game and the game could have turned around, but we missed on some sacks and they end up getting a completions to continue to drive. And like I said, that's never a good thing for a DB. So you cannot leave a guy like Richie Grant in space. And I think that's one of the things when you look at Richie Grant, that's when teams can take full advantage of him, is when they have more time. All right. And I think the third one, he's a great tackler. Like he's a very good tackler. Um, does he struggle with the bigger defensive guys? Absolutely. I think the size. I think Richie Grant goes about what 5'10", 205 pounds. So he's not a very good back. He's not a very big back. But he definitely is a good tackler. But you have to keep him in a certain a small confined space if you're gonna get the best out of. You have to get the best out of Richie Grant. So, like I said, with Richie, man, you cannot leave him open. I don't think that's one of the things that have plagued him is that you put him in space and allow him to, defensive guys to get physical with him. They're obviously gonna get the best out of him. But like I said, I like Richie Grant, good tackler, and another point, coaches just love him. Coaches love him. I don't know what it is about Richie Grant. He's extremely smart. I think he definitely has the skill. You look at him athletically; he's very good athletically. And one of the things that kind of took me by surprise is when Raheem came in to the league. I think that's the thing too. Is that Raheem, when he came in, he said he was a lot better than what he anticipated. So coaches love him. Dean Pease was another one of those guys who really enjoyed, he really liked and loves Richie Grant. And I think that's the thing too when you look at Richie Grant. Um, he has the ability. You have the teammates around. You have guys like Braylon Trice that the Falcons end up drafting to help bolster that pass rush for the Atlanta Falcons. And then you have Arnold Ebiketie who had 6.5 sacks, and he's one of those guys, in my opinion, he could have easily had 10 sacks on the year. So, but his discipline, and then you look at a guy that I personally believe is going to be one of the better defensive linemen for the Atlanta Falcons, and that's Zach Harrison. Zach Harrison, physical. He's young. He's learning. He learned from a vet that's pretty much almost the exact same size as him, and Calais Campbell. So he knows, he's been there, and I think those are one of the things too when you look at this Atlanta Falcons defense is going to help a guy like Richie Grant. So is it really, time to get rid of a Richie Grant? Maybe, maybe not. I see the case for yes, and I see the case for no. And the reason why I say yes is maybe it's a guy like DeMarco Hellams. Like DeMarco Hellams is a guy that we're hearing about. I haven't heard a whole lot from him in the off season. A lot of people have not written about him. But from what I've stated, man, I think the Falcons are definitely going to have someone to push Richie Grant. So if he isn't the guy, DeMarco Hellams, he's going to be another one of those guys that's going to be able to step up and play or possibly take that job from Richie Grant. And Richie Grant, if he can't play a starter, if he's not a suitable replacement as far as the slot corner, maybe he can play special teams, but I do see some value with Richie Grant on this team. So with that being said, man, those are three things with a bonus one for you guys about Richie Grant. So with that being said, I appreciate your stunner for that comment. You guys continue to support your boy here at Madmike Sports, man. That's all I got to say about that. All right. Atlanta Falcons news for Atlanta Falcons fans all over. I'm out.